Hello and welcome to Across the Pond WNBA. It's the finals. We've done game two,
Mm,
and Michelle's bit of can't even get the word out, annihilation
mm, mm.
on the part of the Aces. Like, I know going into this series, we thought this could go to 5 games, but
Mm, mm.
on those 2 game performances, are we over in three?
Whether it's 3, game 4, or game 5, you lost the double down bet. I'm calling out Park Slopes, aka Raymond. It's my director at Nike. You need to pay up. I want my surf and turf. I got a lot of bets that I keep winning. I think y'all should just follow me to Vegas, take the advice. Not only are they winning, they are snapping New York's neck. And they won differently in both games. And I go, ooh, I thought they were going to come back the same way and say until they stop this, we'll adjust when they stop it. They came out and said, we'll show you a whole different Vegas. I
Yeah.
am excited to see Sunday's game.
Well, I remember watching after game one. You and I were both in the press conferences on Zoom and stuff, and we were listening to Sandy Brondello, and she was talking about, we're going to have to make some adjustments and everything else. Do you think at that moment she thought, we'll just we'll just adjust for what they've done tonight, and because they're going to come out the same way because it worked, but she did not expect a whole new Aces team to come out.
All I'm going to say is it reminds me of almost like watching Kobe win when he would win his championships back in the day. God bless his soul. Is he was always 2, 3 steps ahead of you. And Becky knew every coach is like that's the playbook we've had for years. That's why I love the game in the WNBA because it's evolving so fast. And then you're still trying to catch up to the last play, and they're moving on to the second strategy and the third one. And Becky, they do have weapons, and the way she's using her players is amazing. So I agree. I think Sandy Brondello was preparing for what they faced in Vegas. Now she's got to go back and she has a handful of things that they have to try to stop. And to be honest, that's a lot to do in 2, 3 days time or 5 days. I honestly, I do expect New York to win one, and I expect them to win like by 20. I really do. I don't know why. I feel like they're going to have a great shooting. That's a great shooting team. They're going to have at least one great shooting night. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did win game 3 at the same time. I don't think it'll be 3 straight. I don't. Although I
No,
wouldn't mind it.
so I should put my brush away then.
You should we got the broom out there over here because we will take the win, but I think for the league too, I think it'll be great to have a couple of games in the Garden as well. Great market, great team, everything that they've done. I think it helps the WNBA to go a little longer, and to be honest, when I think about it from the front office standpoint, the longer you play, the more money the league makes, and we have all these new teams dropping. Or being added. I shouldn't say dropping, being added. You got new coaches. I think this is the perfect platform to talk about so many different things, which the league is using perfectly right now. So I think it's going to be more than 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the viewing figures for these finals games,
Mhm.
and they're absolutely through the roof. I think best in 20 years or something. Like, and to be fair, like they've been building these finals since before the season even started. When we start to see moves that New York made, Candace coming into Las
Yeah.
Vegas, like it was a lot going on. Now, I I want to see the finals go on longer because it
Mhm.
is more enjoyable to have those extra couple of games before you know the season's done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it'd be more comfortable if it was a three, And I have to issue an apology. I did this on the Aces podcast. I know I kind of feel like I did it like half-hearted, so I'm going to do it full-hearted this time.
Mm.
Kia Stokes, I wholeheartedly apologize.
Woo!
You went out and you scored 8 points. Two of those were from three,
I know.
and I I genuinely jumped out of my chair. I was like almost like kinda touchdown kinda thing. I was like jumped out of my chair and I was like, "Whoa."
The
Um,
fact that Becky even thought to do that, to be like, you know what? Imma take the person you said is not going to do very well, or the person you think, because we even said it, there may be an issue there between her and Alicia Clark. Who do you play more? Alicia kinda took game 1, Kia took game 2. Bro, what do you do? What do you do with that?
It
She
was
it was
it
amazing to watch that.
it really was, because I mean, one of the big things I noticed when the Liberty played the Aces during the regular season was, they would push Kia out to the three-point line,
Mhm,
and, I don't think she maybe felt confident at that time to do that, but there
mhm.
definitely seems to be confidence instilled in her, like, "No, we trust you to shoot these threes." And she did. She made them. I think she took 3 total, which is a pretty good percentage,
Yeah,
from there, 66%. So it was phenomenal. But the big play comes from the guards. Like,
yeah.
Asia Wilson does her thing on defense and everything else, but Kelsey, Chelsea, and Jackie were at it again. And I wonder if, sometimes you see gamesmanship being played,
Yeah.
and when it comes to playoffs, teams do play differently because it's a different type of
Mhm.
basketball. It's a more intense type of basketball. But what we're seeing from the Aces is this, especially game two, is this run and gun. They are running. Now, Courtney Vandersloot is a little bit older.
Brianna, she looked
Bri-
tired.
Brianna looked tired. She
She
looked
looked
physically tired.
but I said that at the end of the season when they started resting them. They were already tired coming into the series.
But what I don't understand is why weren't we? Because we're playing 40 minutes a game almost. Some of our players, Asia Wilson certainly playing 30. I think she averaged 36 minutes a
Mhm.
game throughout the season. That's
But
taking 4 minutes off a game.
but if you remember when we were talking at the beginning of the season about New York and this coup, and we were talking, I said there's gonna be one issue. Coming from the college game to the pro game is very different, and you are building your team around college players. You have several of them who are not, whereas you got to remember, Vegas is used to going overseas. They're playing year round. They are used to playing 36 minutes. They are used to this schedule. They've been together for a while now, that team. And I said, New York, that is where I expect them to have a bit of trouble if they make it, because I didn't expect them to make it this far. And when they started resting people at the end of the season, I was like, they're tired already. And if that's what's happening, now you're seeing in these finals where you're not even playing 36 minutes and they still have to be rested because now players don't have to go overseas. So I think that's going to be a difference in longevity of players' careers as well as the finals. But I think that's the one piece that came back. And you got to remember, you can't blame anyone for that because if you're coming from college, it just takes time. So no one's blaming anybody. It's an adjustment period.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, I get the feeling that the strategies that we're seeing in these finals have been saved. Like at the beginning of the season when Becky's sitting in her office looking down over her nice fancy gym that she's got, I feel like she's got 5 game plans,
Mhm.
and what she's done is she's put them in a little file, she's put them in her desk, and on that file is listed finals, and she's just left it there, and then when it got to, getting past the wings, she's went back to her desk, she's pulled out this file, and top of the file is game 1, and then game 2, and I really feel like she has put these game plans aside on
Mhm.
purpose, knowing that a normal game plan can win and get you to the finals anyway. But I'm going to keep these strategies to one side, so no one's seen them before.
That's
And
crazy.
uh,
That's crazy that you said it because I've been there. I've been there after games. We're celebrating, we're having a good time, we're hanging out. And I gotta go, guys. I gotta watch this. I gotta rewatch this game that we just played before I go to bed. And it's 2 a.m. And they got practice at 9. Like that is how she prepares. And you're right. She is. She's checking little boxes off and seeing things. And just because you see them doesn't mean you have to share them or let people know that you see certain weaknesses. But she took things, and I love that she takes things personal. She took them ISO and Kelsey Plum and turned around and did it to Ionescu and said, okay, let's play that game and let's see which team is going to be better at it. And I think she also instills confidence in her team when she does that sometimes because how would you feel, where you're kind of like, dang, they kind of got me tonight, and then your team comes back and has your back. I think honestly, New York has it from the three. I've always questioned, do they have the legs? And you got to remember when you're shooting a 3-point shot, you got to have legs. And if we're running and gunning you and forcing you to play defense side to side, that is the only thing that I question. But I do also know that home court advantage in the Garden with those fans, like I saw them, even when they were showing the screenshots of the fans on the television, it was absolutely amazing. I think those fans are going to carry them through game three. I do.
There's a possibility, and I think I was talking to a Vegas insider yesterday, and they believe that the lower bowl of Barclays Center was sold out. It was sold out like weeks
Mhm.
ago. That they have opened parts of the upper bowl.
Yeah,
Um, here's the thing, right?
that's crazy.
Now I'm going to switch a little bit to the NBA slightly. Mark Cuban,
Mhm,
businessman, philanthropist, billionaire, genius, whatever you want to call him, he does this thing where his arena is sold out every game. And the reason it's sold out every game, and you see, it's not just like we mentioned Miami
mm,
few months back and how, half the arena's empty, but they say it's sold out. You look at the Dallas arena, any game, any of the game of the season, it is sold out and there's bums on seats. The reason behind that is he will sell as many tickets as he can. And then what he does is he takes what's left and he goes out to the local community, he goes out to
yep,
the schools, he
mhm,
just busses in kids,
yeah,
whole classrooms of kids, and
mhm,
says, "Here, come and enjoy a basketball game. You, your family, here's some tickets. Come and enjoy a basketball game." There's two things there. One is he has a full arena,
mhm.
and he's not pretending he has a full arena. And then the second thing is that local community
He's giving back.
buy into the team because they're like, you know what? I got to go see a Mavericks game. Like you got a 10-year-old kid. He's like, man,
Yeah,
love basketball. Only ever get to see it on TV. But the Dallas Mavericks came around our school and gave us tickets.
yep,
If the Liberty were smart, sell as many tickets as you can,
I should.
and then go out to the local communities, go out to schools and bring in players and have that full arena. Don't worry about, oh well, we've got this section open and that section open. Fill the whole place.
I think you
Make
should.
that place loud.
When I interned back in 20, like it was 2000 and 2000. Actually, it was two. Dang, I am that old. That sucked. Jeez. But in college, so I graduated in 2002. So in '01, I interned with the Mystics when MJ was the GM on one side and they were selling at the arenas on the same thing. And what they did was the day before, that's what we would do. We take all of those tickets that were left and we go find schools, organizations. Like that's one of the first organizations that would always be sold out was the men and women's on that side. And Mark Cuban has taken that and done the same thing. I get what they're doing in New York. You want to sell as many as you can, and then you give away the rest. So I think, like you said, tomorrow, probably today, they're going to have to give up. Hey, so many sections we're going to go ahead and give away now. And that way we can open up parts of the bowl. But I think that's just a smart move when you're looking on television and one, you get a lifelong fan because these kids come to a game, they get to experience it, they're getting t-shirts, they're in that environment, and you got celebrities down on the front row that they get to be in the same room with. It adds energy. I would not expect any less from New York. I think they will. I hope they do and they open up that bowl. But we will see because from what we've seen in Vegas, look at Too Short perform, Tank perform, like celebrities. The Raiders were there. Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was like, I did like it was crazy the people that were in the arena and how they were showcasing them and the kids could still see them.
Your
After
guy LeBron was there.
yeah, LeBron, man, we gotta talk about that later with the custom shoes on Asia. That was just woo, I loved it. But I think New York is going to do something similar because they have the legends. I would expect Spike Lee there. I would. If he's in town, I would expect him to be
Yeah.
there because he's a huge, Knicks fan. he's gonna support his home team. There, but think about just the players and the all the celebrities that are in New York. I think that we're gonna see something very similar happen, and as that continues to grow, that arena's gonna sell out. It's going to sell out.
And the WNBA, not just viewing figures wise, but making the news.
Mhm,
Like, and that's important. That's a large part of it because we are getting to see these athletes on the front cover of newspapers or on the front page of websites and stuff. So hopefully that continues. Now, let's move back to expansion. So expansion since last week. There's been some news and a lot of intrigue. So we
mhm.
talked about Joe Lacob and owning the Warriors and what that meant, and the fact that he's stewarded that franchise to be a successful franchise, not just on the floor but also off the floor, making it profitable. He then applies to the WNBA to bring a team to San Francisco, and that works.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, the Boston owner comes out and says, "Well, I mean, if Joe Lacob can do it, I mean, why can't I do it?" And obviously, Boston, again, another franchise, is one. I mean, it's a historic franchise when it comes to winning. I mean, they've got legends like Bill Russell, but Larry Bird, like Robert
Yes.
Parrish. You mean the list? I mean, I could literally list like about 100 players. They all played for Boston, all won championships, and maybe a bit more historic in terms of how they won them. But we've got two championship teams, and one's got a WNBA team, and now you get the other one coming out saying, "We want one too. Show us some love."
I love it. We talked about this kinda last week when it initially started under the NBA teams, but it wasn't there yet. They weren't ready for it. I think it's there, absolutely. It's time to hear a team like Boston, as legendary as they are, to come out and say that, to see the Warrior franchise do what they're doing over in San Francisco is we knew the game was growing, but it still doesn't make it almost like a Christmas present. Like you're just shocked. This is your favorite Christmas present of all time, is to see how this league is growing. Like you said, the viewership, the interest from other owners. I'm excited. I can't sleep excited, waiting on the next game. It's becoming so don't it's always been entertaining, but the level is going through the roof to something that you don't know what to expect every time you come in there. You just know that you're gonna walk away with a big smile on your face.
It is insane. Like, it's like a snowball effect almost, where one's doing it, so they all kind of look around and go, why aren't we doing that? And I think as well now, I mean, we know that back in the early days of the WNBA, we had franchises folding and
Mhm.
closing their doors, and things were tough, very, very tough. But I think what we've seen, certainly over the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even a bit more, is there has been that growth, and we've seen it. And you look at viewing figures because that's what these guys will be looking at. These guys will be look at viewing figures. People are watching.
Yeah.
People want to see this. They want this content, and they'll be seeing these athletes perform. And these athletes, I mean, and you look at what's coming out of the draft, like next year, and
Oh my
even actually, you can actually look ahead to 2, 3 years down the line because let's be honest, these college kids are probably going to stay in college a little bit longer because of nil,
yes.
because they want to get paid before they get to the W,
Yes.
so that they potentially maybe don't have to go abroad during the winters. So they want. I think when you look ahead to those drafts, that's what these owners are looking at. They're like, hang on, we could have a very marketable team in our city. Another city that still some news did come out that Oakland, my Oakland, could still have a team. The WNBA released a statement saying that Oakland was not out of the race to have a team. There was still an opportunity for them to have a team. So thank God, like, because I was like last week I was having heart palpitation. I was like, hang on, what happened to Oakland? Oh, they're going to train in Oakland. That's not the same thing, but like, because it's not. Let's be honest. But AASEG Oakland, which
Mhm.
are the group that have been putting this bid together for a very long time, They came out on the 11th of October, so just a few days ago, and basically confirmed that they had spoken to the league, and despite, or as well as the Golden State Warriors announcement last week, that they were still kind of in the running to have a team. However, the expansion team would not arrive in Oakland if it is to arrive, will not now arrive until 2026. So we are looking, and you mentioned this last week, we are looking at these teams coming in not 2024. I think there was an expectation that we
Mhm.
would see new franchises next year. But to your point last week, no, let's build these franchises, take the time to do it so that we're not building them to fail. We do it too fast, they could potentially just fall flat in their face. Whereas if you build it up over time, very slowly, then you build it for success in that instance.
I love that. It just shows the growth and maturity of the league, but it also shows that there's definitely some remnants of what happened the first time around when we did this. So I love that they just have said, let's just slow it down and take our time and make sure when we do bring this out that we do it the right way and in a way where the fans won't have teams taken out of their hands. Because there are cities like Houston that are still reeling from that. So I love seeing that we have some of those teams back on the bids to get teams back. So I think the league is getting there and it's gonna be fine and it will allow it to make sure that the fans get their due deserves. They get teams and they're not ripped out of their hands like Houston. But the best part is this. You have a plethora of cities who want teams, and that's the best part, who know that it's gonna take work and that are willing to do it.
Yeah, very much so. Now, I do have one concern, and that is the New York effect. So we have New York, we have the Liberty, and then we have the Connecticut and the Connecticut Sun. Very maybe not quite as close as what San Francisco and Oakland are, to be fair, but there was a reason they moved the Warriors to San Francisco, and that was market and arena, to be fair. So my one worry is that does Oakland become the ugly stepchild of the West? And when it comes to media share, it pretty much all goes to one side, or is there a way that they can kind of share that market? Because putting two teams really close together, it does have some downfalls to it.
It does because you can't compete with San Fran. That's the tech capital. I'm sorry. That is the tech capital of the US. They're going to get news. It's going to be popping. Here's the other side of it. Do you create a New York Connecticut battle like we've had seen the last 5 years in the WNBA to get to the finals? Because if you can create that, you still keep your team in the mouths and they get in the eyes. People get to see Connecticut because they are in those semifinals every season, and it allows them to still be able to build great teams. And they're happy. Like you get to see those players and follow them. You could create the same dynamic there if you wanted to.
Well, I mean, we do see it with baseball. The Oakland A's and the Giants of San Francisco. We have the Battle of the Bay every year, and it works. I mean, it doesn't work so much for the A's anymore because as always, Derek Fisher, not even Derek Fisher, whatever his name, Fisher, I forgot his first name, guts our team every year as soon as we have a decent player. And now he's moving the team to Vegas. So thanks for that. But I think this is actually such a good thing that the city of Oakland will have a WNBA team because Oakland has been absolutely gutted of professional teams, and their college teams like Cal Bears aren't much cop, to be fair. So, like to have like the Raiders go, the Warriors
Yeah.
go, the A's will eventually end up in Vegas as well. To for a sports league to be like, you know what, we will give you a franchise and we're going to trust you with it. There is an arena there, the Oracle Arena that the Warriors did play in, is still there. It holds concerts and all this kind of stuff, so it's still there. It's not as if it's like falling to pieces or anything. It's a decent arena. I've been there, but I still have that concern that we're kind of just going to be out on an island a little bit when actually technically it's the other way around because San Francisco's on the island. But it's I think it is kind of a worry, but I like the idea of, you create 2 monsters in the Bay that are gonna fight each other tooth and nail to get to the playoffs, and, who knows, we could have some classic, like we have with New York and Connecticut, some classic playoff battles.
I think the biggest issue is, the TV series Ballers with The Rock,
Yeah, yeah.
when they lost the team and they moved into Vegas. The issue, I think, it becomes one of making sure you're maximizing the potential of a team. And when that team isn't already in Vegas and they've shown through the WNBA, okay, this can work. Now we bring an NFL team. Okay, this can work. They've been talking about bringing an NBA team for years. This can work. They were just leveraging certain things to prove that it worked. I think Oakland, unfortunately, was the city that lost a lot of its franchises because of that. But on the other side, it has also blown sports up to a whole new level and world. It's a place that players and athletes love coming to. Although we would love for Oakland to have a team, I would be scared at the same time because they lose every team. And it's not because of support. It's
No,
not because
no,
of a
no.
lack of community support. That's not it. So yes, a WNBA team could go there, but is there enough around that? And is there enough appeal on the women's side? Because they've had plenty of men's sports and things like that. I would want to kind of really gut check and make sure that that could become a possibility and that it will be able to be sustainable because the number one concern that Kathy's going to have with any team is that you're going to do everything in your power to make it work. Oakland has not proven that with professional teams. I'm not saying that AESEG won't do that. I'm sure they will because they're like, hey, we're actually the right people to do it. I'm just saying, I think that's a hurdle and an obstacle they have to get over and over to get that in order to get that team there. That's why the NWSL team, I think, is another one to kind of show, hey, we're serious and we can make this work.
Yeah, because the same group is doing both bids for the NWSL and WNBA. I think on that, you look at the A's, they were parachuted into Oakland. You look at the Raiders, they were parachuted into Oakland. So those franchises were never born in Oakland. Whereas if you have a franchise like an NWSL, like a WNBA, if you have franchises born in that city, like, because obviously as A's fans, we always say, rooted in Oakland, but the history isn't really. Whereas if you bring that WNBA team, that is rooted in Oakland because that is where it started. So and I think that is the market. Like, that is what you marketing people. If you're listening, that is what you go for, because I think that is the catalyst. Because you will get buy-in from those fans. Because Oakland, people of Oakland and surrounding areas that go to these games, they're kind of, not to swear, but they're really, really annoyed that they're that it could come a point where there's no franchises professionally in Oakland once the A's leave. So by giving people hope as well, that will certainly go a long way.
If if that group gets that team in Oakland, they need to cut you a check.
Cut me a check, yeah.
They need to
Why
cut
not?
you a check because you are out here pleading for them and doing the work.
Yes, I am. Now, before we go on to game three, which obviously happens on Sunday, we're going to talk about Becky for a second. Becky is a little salty still around the MVP
Hmm.
and where that went. I mean, comments like,
Hmm.
"Sorry, who's your MVP?"
Hmm.
you know, yeah, she kind of flies them around. Is it healthy though to continue to bring up the MVP thing? And I mean, I
Yes.
suppose if you're on Brianna Stewart's side and you hear that, that's probably, again, mind games.
Listen, the game has become about entertainment. They are writing scripts before the season. Becky is writing her own, okay? And I don't know if y'all saw my Instagram post, but I put up a similar post. Her Asia's efficiency was better, points were better, consistency was better, field goal, everything. It was better. She was robbed. And I love that Becky, who has a platform that can call it out, and people won't say anything to her about it. But if anyone else calls it out, it'll be, oh, you just mad because it's Brianna Stewart. She is good. She's not just good, she's great. I will give her her flowers, but she was not MVP this year. Her numbers, if we look at them side by side, No, I'm sorry. You were given it was not earned this year. And a lot of people are having the balls to stand up and say that. Like pound for pound, when we look at your numbers, they aren't there. They had a better record than you did. The ace, we always say, well, maybe she made her team better. She did not. Even getting into the playoffs, she did not play well. She, I'm sorry. I think Becky is, you know how a parent says they're gonna whoop you, but they tease you the whole day and make you wait on the spanking?
Oh yeah,
Becky is doing that to Brianna Stewart. And I'm like, oh, and Brianna should not be catching this heat. It should be the people who voted and they use their power the wrong way. And I don't care. You can say what you want to say about me. It is what it is. You did. You did not look at the numbers. You did not factor in team success because if you did, Asia was the clear winner. But you did not want her to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year again. You wanted to share the wealth, and you did so by giving it to a player who did not have the same numbers. Becky is right, and I love that she is the type of coach. That's why they keep playing for her the way they do. That's why Kia Stokes came out and said, "Let me show you my three ball." Her coach believes in her. Becky always stands up for her teammates and her players. That's why they run through a wall for her. They have her attitude and her swagger. She's not backing down from anybody. I love what she said. I am
I,
sorry that Brianna has to take the heat on that because
yeah,
she is great. I don't want to take anything away from her because they kind of put her in the middle of the firing squad.
yeah. I think Brianna probably when she won the MVP, she's like, "Oh wow, I've won MVP. This is brilliant." And then there, I mean, straight away online and in the news and everything else, there was like, "Well, hang on a second." But should the WNBA look at how they process who the MVP is? At the moment, it is media votes. By the way, for everyone, we did not get a vote this year. Very sad by that. And WNBA, that should be sorted for next year. But like, I mean, should they reform the system of who is selected as MVP? Because I think just now, when we look about MVPs, not even just in the WNBA, but in other leagues as well,
Mhm.
sometimes it's more about the narrative. Because I mean, I said a couple
Yep.
of weeks ago, if you were going to have an MVP in the NBA every year, it should have been LeBron. Like every year, he was the greatest player of his generation, and he should have won MVP. Michael
Most
Jordan,
years, most years. KD had a
most
couple
yeah,
outstanding.
oh yeah, but even Michael
Yeah.
Jordan didn't win MVP. The 2 years, it's gonna give me PTSD. The 2 years that Karl Malone from the Utah Jazz won MVP was the same 2 years that Michael Jordan beat the Jazz in the finals.
Mhm.
Like so, but it was all about narrative,
Yeah.
and you have sports writers who vote on these things,
Mhm.
and they're kind of writing the narrative. So are they the right people to pick the MVP?
I think that's why it was set up that way in the first place. It was
Yeah,
to control the narrative. Duh. I think as fans get more into behind the scenes, as they get to learn the business more, these are things that players can't talk about because then they slap them with a fine.
yeah,
But it's not that players wouldn't say it; it's that they would get fined, and then
yeah.
they would become problem people, and then you would be gone. So people know what's going on. It's just, I think it absolutely needs to be reformed. What is the biggest media market in the U.S.? New York. That's unbiased. I mean, there's the bias right there. I think part of it is maybe it should be a collection. It could be college coaches. I don't know what the answer is. I can come up with a few if you need me to. That are, it's all good. We can all get in the room. We can figure this out. I think it needs to be people outside of the league that come up with that form because when you're inside of the league, especially if you're in a front office, you always have a biases around what you're trying to do and who you can influence and control. Maybe past players. It could be, I don't know what it is, but I think there definitely needs to be a reform. Even at how we look, I thought KD said something really important. You might be on a losing team, but if you're the best player, you're the best player, period. It says MVP, not MVT. It's not the most valuable team. Just because your team goes further shouldn't give you an advantage. If you were putting up, now I'll tell you this, LeBron wouldn't have won so many because I'll be honest, if they reformed it on numbers and how people played, Russell Westbrook would probably have more MVPs than everybody playing right now. If we're talking about individual play alone, this dude was putting up Oscar Robertson numbers.
Yeah.
So then it becomes, do you need another award with the MVP team, best player team. I don't know,
So it
but
starts to get complicated after that.
it gets really complicated. But if it's the most valuable player, define what that means because in the past, historically, it has always taken heavily into account how far your team went.
Yeah.
Because you're right, if
Like,
it doesn't take that, it gives LeBron more. It gives Westbrook. There are lots of players who can put up numbers but aren't on the best teams. I think that hurts the league for one reason. If they're in a market where they're not on TV and nobody knows who they are, I think that's part of why some of the narrative is controlled. At the end of the day, it's a business, and business is about making money. So, although I'm talking trash on the podcast, if I was a GM in the front office, I'd be like, no, 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 we're not listening to that fool, Michelle. That fool don't know how to make money. It would be a different conversation. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that too.
no, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, Kathy should have us in. We could be the independent consultants, and we'll sort it out. It's absolutely fine.
And I can't get my GM job. They're gonna be like,
You
nah,
get the GM
don't let
job
that fool,
afterwards.
don't let that fool. But then they'd be mad because I walk in and I'd be like, no, most valuable players around the team.
Most hated GM in
I'm
WNBA history.
honest. I'm honest. I'll be like, look, things have changed.
Sorry
Things
about that.
definitely changed.
Right, game 3 is this Sunday.
Who wins?
It is a UK friendly time also.
Yeah.
So that's actually another reason for international fans to wanna see this done in 3, because we'll actually get to see it live, because the other 2 games are on at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. In the UK. In fact, actually, I think game 5 is on at 3 a.m. So, like, eh, for me as a fan, like, when I was 16 years old watching the NBA finals, Jazz Bulls, I was up till 4 a.m. watching those games. And it was, I was a kid, so I didn't really care. But my mom did, my teachers did, because obviously I didn't then perform in school the next day. But like now, I'm like, I want to see this done in 3 because I'm gonna get to see it
Mm.
live. I'm not gonna see all the tweets and all the notifications on my phone on Thursday or whenever it is. I'm gonna be there seeing it live. So for me, like, I want to see the Aces win, and I am going for an Aces win.
So you got aces in three.
I got Aces in 3. I'm taking it. I'm being brave.
Just send me my 4 packs of fried Oreos because I want y'all to know he does not pay up his debts. He doesn't. Don't bet with him. You're not gonna get you. He don't pay up. He just lost every time. He should stop betting against me. Honestly, I said aces. I don't care if it's 3, 4, or 5, but it will be back to back.
Yeah, it's gonna be back to back. I don't doubt that. I mean, we can't perform that well in 2 games
And
and
I want
still have all these secret kind of schemes and stuff that we can run, and not win. So, no,
and I want
I'm
to
with
see
you there.
Asia tear up New York. Okay, because she acted a fool in Vegas when they won. I want to see her get crunk in Times Square.
Right, final word, the shoes that LeBron gifted Asia.
Not just the shoes, sending her the message in game one. And then in game one, she had a solid game. And the guards have led this series as they should. Game two, Asia came in 26-15, like boom, boom, boom. MVP type numbers. I will say my MVP right now is Jackie Young, though. Jackie Young may end up MVP, and she should. But the shoes that she had on and the story behind it and him texting her like, "Hey, just keep doing your thing." And then the last one is I remember when Cleveland beat Golden State and all you heard LeBron saying, "Job's not done, not done." You saw Kobe saying the same thing, "Job's not done." To hear Asia, I said, "You are in a whole new world when you bring that." Like, although we won, we blew them out. Make it very clear that New York is capable of coming back. So if you don't get on this plane prepared to play, you could go home.
Yes, indeed. And just a word on the plane, Sydney Colson has picked up a new job as a
Yes,
flight attendant.
ended.
If you go on the AC's social media, it's absolutely hilarious. She gets all dressed up and stuff and is serving
Where
peanuts
did she
and
find the
juice and stuff.
uniform, bro? Like, she
Absolutely hilarious. But it shows how comedic this team is and how together this team is. If they can have a laugh and a joke like this, it's for me, it's always about knowing the space that you're in. You're in an airplane, you're at 40,000 feet, you're flying, everyone's bored, let's have a laugh.
Yes.
You're on a basketball court, it's 2 minutes, the game's tied, it's serious, and that is what this team has been able to do this year. Yeah, they have a laugh coming into the arena, they have a joke, they get on the court and it's serious, they get off the court at the end of the game, and they go back to that, "Yeah, we're having a laugh and a joke and everything else," and I think that has been key one of the key factors this season to
One.
them winning.
The other
One
one
of
is
them, yeah.
the other one is Baby Pearl. If y'all have not Googled Baby Pearl, the newborn that's on the plane that doesn't like media, cameras, anything, that's their secret weapon. They already grooming her to play for the Aces later on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right then, well, we will be back next week. Hopefully, well, I think we will have a winner
Probably
by
with the
but
champion.
by the time Michelle may be in Vegas celebrating, by that point. I won't, I'll still be here in Scotland, thanks for that. But, uh, do join us next week. Do check out, Across One Aces. The episode is already out with myself and Samantha, and over the weekend, Across the Pond Liberty, they are recording their episode tomorrow, so it'll probably be out Sunday before game 3. So it'll be very interesting to see what they say because they have not recorded an episode since game 1 and 2 have been played. So it'll be very interesting to see what they have to say on the matter. But for Across One WNBA, have a good one, and we will see you next week.
Doses.